at that reaction. Look at that reaction.
What do you say? What do you know? It's the full Monty Sports Show. It is Saturday, January 22nd, 2022. I am your host, Monte Perez, a.k.a. the Sports Whisperer. And oh my goodness, it is here. Divisional Round playoffs. We have waited for this. If you're a Packer fan, you are super excited. Every one of these teams has a legitimate chance to win. I was 6-0 last week, as you can see my Green Bay Packer shirt. I was 6-0 last week picking games. I thought last week would be the easiest week to pick, and I was correct. But this week, it could be the Bills. It could be the Rams. We could see something that probably hasn't happened in forever. We could see all the road teams win today and tomorrow. We could see all the road teams win today and tomorrow. We're going to get into all that stuff. But first, it happens, right? Unfortunately, my Twitter account got suspended. I am appealing it. No big deal. You can follow me on Twitter, Monte Perez 14. I am appealing it. Apparently, I put some Trae Young highlights on, and that broke some sort of copyright infringements. Didn't mean to do it. Not going to blame anyone else. It is what it is. So about 16,000 followers, over 1 million hits on my page each month, wiped out, rebuilding. Again, I'm appealing on Twitter. So you can follow me on social media. On Twitter, Monte Perez 14. On TikTok, Monte Perez 231. We have the best guests all across the country. This week is no exception. We are going to have Jeff Barnes, Rico, Show Me the Money, Graziano, and George Lopez. George Lopez was at SoFi Stadium for the playoff game last Monday night. I don't know if this is true, but this is rumored that this was George after the game. I don't know if that is true. But, going to be those guys bringing the heat. We're going to break down every game. I will be doing a show Monday night. I will be, if Brad and A-Marie follow me on Twitter, because they haven't followed me back yet with my new account, I will email them, and we will be doing a recap on Monday night. Okay, let's get to it. We start each show with the good, the bad, and the funny. Let's start with the good. There's an old saying, right? Be the change you want to see in the world. Be the change you want to see in the world. Okay? This is really sad, but it's true. This is a cartoon that said, this is a prescription for a medication that lowers your anxiety about drug prices. Well, our politicians don't do anything about it, right? I mean, most of them are sponsored by either corporations, pharmaceutical companies. Now, I will say this. For those of you who say all politicians are the same, you're wrong. 100% wrong. And this is not a political statement. And if you think it is, turn off your YouTube. Don't watch. I don't give a shit. Okay? I don't care. I'm going to do what I'm going to do, and I'm going to be on the right side of history. I'm an honest person. I am for women's rights. I'm for the LGBT community. I am for lowering prescription drug costs. Now, someone is doing something about it. Mark Cuban, okay, we all know who Mark Cuban is, the owner of the Dallas Mavericks, billionaire. He has launched the Mark Cuban Cost Plus drug company. According to Gallup poll in September, 18 million Americans, okay, at least once a month skip their medication because they can't afford it. They skip their medication because they can't afford it. Well, Cuban has launched this website. Some of the notable medications the pharmacies offer is a leukemia treatment. The retail price for leukemia treatment is $9,657 per month. Under Mark Cuban's website, it is $47 per month. $47 per month. Colitis treatment, $940 per month. Under Mark Cuban, $102 per month. These are just some of the things that, Here's a guy who's doing gout treatment. So a lot of people suffering from gout. Okay, gout has made a comeback. Gout has made a comeback. Average monthly cost, $182 per month. Under Mark Cuban, $8.77 per month. Now, again, this is not political. If you think it's political, stop watching the show. I don't care. But these are facts. You're entitled to your opinion. You're not entitled to your facts. There are three things in this country that the right wing wants to make for profit. That is our prison system, that is our educational system, and that is our pharmaceutical companies. They want them all to make a profit. And if you don't think there's a difference, every Republican voted against COVID relief. It got passed because the Democrats passed it. But every Republican in the Senate voted against it. They voted against giving you relief. So props to Mark Cuban. Hell of a job. This is about a guy who's giving back, and he's going to save millions of people from going bankrupt and stressed out because they get sick and they can't afford medication. So all the props in the world to Mark Cuban. All the props in the world. I mean, really, really. Great job by him. Great job. I don't care how you feel, what you represent, but when someone is helping Americans that he doesn't even know so they don't go bankrupt, that is a hell of a job by Mark Cuban. That is a hell of a job by Mark Cuban. Okay, now that was the good. Now let's get to the bad. You know, Dak Prescott, when all this COVID was going on, someone asked Dak Prescott and they said, are you vaccinated? And Dak said, that's a HIPAA violation. No, it isn't, Dak. No, it isn't. A HIPAA violation is when a company gives your information out to the public without your permission. He could have told people he was vaccinated. He could have told people he wasn't, but he kind of made an excuse. And Dak Prescott made another excuse this week, right? The NFL fined him $25,000. It should have been more, but they fined him $25,000 when someone asked, was it right for the fans to throw garbage at the refs? And he said, and I quote, I mean, if they weren't at us and the fans felt the same way as us, then yeah, I guess that's why the refs took off and got out of there so fast. So, I mean, yeah, I think everyone's upset. I'm sure a fan will feel the same way as I do. Now, Dak retracted his statement and said, I hold the NFL officials in the highest regard, and I've always respected the professionalism and difficulty of their job. Dak, just shut up. Just shut up. You lost. It wasn't because of the refs, okay? It wasn't because of the refs, Dak. You lost because you had no concept of time and score. You did a quarterback sneak, and you didn't slide early enough. You lost that game because of what you did at the end. Now, it's a team sport. Dallas had 14 penalties, okay? But, Dak, you're part of the loss. This is what we do in America now, right? Your team loses, you got to blame the refs, okay? Your team loses, you blame the refs. Is anyone blaming Dak for being so dumb with time and score when he slid and he shouldn't have slid? He should have slid 10 yards earlier? No. And what type of loser are you that you're throwing stuff at the refs? Get a life. If anyone thinks that the NFL is it's rigged, they want Dallas in the playoffs and in the Super Bowl because Dallas sells the most merchandise. Dallas is America's team. Dallas does better ratings than almost any team in the country. So, Dak, stop with your lame-ass excuses. You lost because you couldn't get the job done. End of story. Now, our good friend Greg always says, oh, it's a team sport. Too much credit goes to the quarterback and too much blame goes to the quarterback. That's true, Greg. But if you're going to be on every commercial, if you're going to be the highest paid player, okay, this is Dak Prescott at the end of the game. Distraught, despondent, because he made a bonehead play. So if you want all the commercials, like a Baker Mayfield, okay, you want all the accolades, all the pressure, all the extracurricular activities like an Aaron Rodgers does. If Aaron Rodgers loses today, he's going to get a lot of the blame. Now, look, he can't stop the run. He's not on defense. but he's the highest paid player on that team. He's the leader of that team. And yes, he will deserve some of the blame. He will deserve. So going back to Dak Prescott, stupid comments, but I don't expect much from him because he made a stupid play. So Dak, just terrible by you saying the fans could do that if they feel upset. I wonder, Dak, I saw a lot of people burning your jerseys. I wonder if you go to a store and someone throws a frozen water bottle at your head, are you going to say, yeah, I guess the fans will we're right because they were upset we lost? Come on. No fan. I say this all the time. If you get into a fight at a sporting event, if you throw anything at a fan, at a ref, at another member of someone in the audience, you should spend 30 days in jail, a minimum of a $10 fine, and banned from that stadium for life. Fan is short for fanatical. Get a life. We said last week, if you're punching the TV after your team lost and you smash it, you're a loser. Is your life that empty that when your team loses, you have to break everything and resort to violence? Any fan that fights in the stadium, 30 days in jail, $10,000 fine minimum. Okay, so that's the good, the bad, and again, only in Florida. We have the dumbest criminals in America. Like Joe Cardozo said a few months ago on my show, Monty, I don't have any facts, but you're wrong. Okay, I don't have any facts that Florida has the dumbest criminals, but I really believe that. So there were two guys fishing, right? Two guys were fishing in Jacksonville, Florida. A police officer came up to them and on his speaker said, hey, if you guys don't have a license, you got to leave. If not, I got to give you a fine. So they waved him off. He's like, hey, guys, before I come out there, I'm giving you the opportunity. If you don't have a license, please leave the fishing area. They blew him off. Okay. So apparently there were three guys fishing. One guy went to get beer, but he left his wallet. So when the cop came over and asked these guys for their license and to see if they have a fishing license, the one dude gave him his friend's license because there was a warrant out for the guy for his arrest. So he wanted to fake his identity. Now, little did he know the license that he gave his friend who was out getting beer, he also had a warrant for his arrest. And he didn't know. So the cop runs the license and says, hey, you have a warrant out for your arrest. Apparently the guys looked like one another. So there wasn't like it wasn't like someone was 6'1" with black hair. They were both, about 175, 35, 36 years old. They looked alike, like these two guys in the picture right here. So the guy gets arrested using his friend's ID. And then when he gets to the police station, he's got to come clean and say that, yes, it's me. And, there is a warrant for my arrest as well. But here's the thing. The cop, if I have a warrant for my arrest and a cop pulls up and says, hey, you guys should leave, I'm leaving. Again, the dumbest criminals in Florida. I don't know what goes on here. I don't understand. Yes, the Florida man. It's really, really, really ridiculous. Ridiculous what goes on here in Florida. It's really ridiculous what goes on in Florida. Okay, so what we're going to do now, normally we break down the game. I picked the winners. I stopped at the regular season. I was 168-60 picking games, and I'm 6-0. I'm going to pick the games later with our guests. But what I'm going to do now is for all the fans who don't have a team in the playoffs, we're going to just take a couple of minutes here before we get Rico Graziano on, before we get Jeff Barnes on, and before we get George Lopez. We're going to break down what each team that's not in the playoffs need to do to improve their team. Again, what each team needs to do to improve their team, So we're going to start real quick. We're going to start with the AFC East and the New England Patriots. The Patriots finished 10-7. And look, it's no secret now. Bill Belichick does a lot of things very well. He's one of the greatest, if not the greatest coach of all time. Okay? He's had Tom Brady, who's one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. But what Bill Belichick does not do is he has no idea what a talented wide receiver is. He has no idea. Think about this. I'm not going to go through all the litany of mistakes he's made drafting wide receivers. I'm just going to keep it pretty modern. So they drafted N'Keal Harry, right? They drafted N'Keal Harry in 2019. Okay, they get Mac Jones, a young quarterback. They have 2 good tight ends. They have a good offensive line. But when they drafted N'Keal Harry, they passed up Deebo Samuel. Okay, they passed up probably the second best wide receiver behind Davante Adams in the NFL. They passed up on DK Metcalf and A.J. Brown. You're going to see A.J. Brown today have a monster game in Tennessee against the Bengals. Okay, so Bill Belichick, N'Keal Harry drafted him. I'm not going to go through all the list, but in order for this Patriot teams to compete with the Bills, they need to do something at their skill position. Watching them play is like watching a 1950s football team play. They're going to run the ball 70% of the time, play action, throw to their tight end. Every once in a while, a wide receiver will make a play. But as you can see in the NFL, you see the Cincinnati Bengals with Chase. You see the Packers with Davante Adams. We see all these elite wide receivers, Deebo Samuel. You need wide receivers, Bill, and you have been terrible at it. Terrible at it since you've taken over the reins and running the organization. Again, N'Keal Harry over Deebo Samuel, over DK Metcalf and A.J. Brown. Terrible job. So they need to get some skill position players. They need to get some speed on the outside, and they need to get competent wide receivers. Okay, so now let's move to the AFC East, and now we go to Brian Flores again. Sticking with this, the Dolphins went 9-8, and they fired him. I don't know why they fired him, because he's the only Dolphin coach in 18 years to have back-to-back winning seasons. But here's what I'm going to say about the Miami Dolphins. I'm done with Tua. I see what Joe Burrow did with a terrible team before he was injured last year in Cincinnati. I see what Justin Herbert is doing. I see what Patrick Mahomes. Yes, I know they had talent around them, but Joe Burrow didn't have a lot of talent around him last year. Okay? And Justin Herbert has had 2 incompetent quarterbacks. So, listen, you watch all the playoff games today, right? Maybe there's 2 quarterbacks that you're not sure of. Ryan Tannehill and Jimmy G from San Francisco. I'm tired, if I'm a Miami fan, of wondering what Tua is going to show up. I don't want a quarterback that everything has to go right for them to be successful. I want Tua to carry this team, and he's just not that guy. His fundamentals were terrible. I've watched a ton of Miami Dolphin games this year, and I'm rooting for the kid. I'm rooting for him. But the Dolphins need to move away from Tua if they want to have long-term success. You fired a guy who maybe he rubbed people the wrong way, but this guy got results. And for all those saying that the players didn't like him, they were 1-7. They could have quit. They didn't. Look what the Raiders did after they lost their wide receiver in John Gruden. They made the playoffs because they loved their coach. You could say whatever you want about Brian Flores. They won 7 games in a row after going 1-7. So if I'm the Dolphins, I jump ship. I do not want to being my franchise quarterback. Now let's go to the Jets. Robert Saleh, absolutely pathetic first year as a Jets coach, gave up 504 points. Let me repeat that. The Jets defense was worse than the NFL. They gave up 504 points. Just to show you how bad this Jets defense was, and Robert Saleh is a defensive coordinator for San Francisco. He's supposed to be defensive-minded. The Dolphins were second in the division giving up points, okay, with Brian Flores. They gave up 373. The Jets gave up 504. 131 more points than the Dolphins. And forget about the defense. Their offense was terrible. No disrespect to the University of Miami player, Braxton Berrios. He had 46 receptions. He was second on the Jets. People like Cooper Kupp, people like Davante Adams, they have 46 catches within 4 or 5 games. This was his season, and he was the number 1 wide receiver at the end of the year. 46 catches for your wide receiver. And again, Zach Wilson, you think this guy's going to succeed in New York? You're clueless. 55% completion percentage. 9 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Come on. Come on. This is who we want to run our franchise. And again, don't tell me, oh, you got to give the kid time, because I seen what Burrows can do. I seen what Herbert can do. I saw what Patrick Mahomes can do. So some of this is on Zach Wilson, but some of it is on his coach. He's not offensive-minded. He's a defensive coach, and his defense sucks. How about that? He's a defensive coach, and his defense sucks. So the Jets and the Giants are 3 to 5 years away just from being competitive. Competitive. All right, let's move to the AFC West. We'll start with the Chargers. Now, Brandon Staley, you know how I feel about this guy, the head coach of the Chargers. Brandon Staley, you know how I feel about him. Now, you're going to sit there, and this is the argument I hear from all people on social media. Monty, you can't judge a guy for 1 year. Really? Really? You can't judge a guy for 1 year. Why is Urban Meyer fired then? Everyone wanted Urban Meyer fired 6 games into the season. I wanted Brandon Staley fired 6 games into the season. I said to Brad Ward on my show on Monday nights, this guy's terrible. I didn't say this from Happy Gilmore, but that's pretty funny. So you can't have it both ways. You can't say you can't fire a coach the first year of the season and applaud Urban Meyer getting the axe. They have a good roster. They need to improve their defense. They were not good against the run, but Justin Herbert is the only elite quarterback not in the playoffs, and it's directly because of this guy, right? So don't come at me with you got to give him a chance, and you didn't give Urban Meyer a chance. Can't have it both ways. Let's move to the Denver Broncos. Look, I'm going to put this picture up. This is probably the most talented group of quarterbacks in the AFC West and the entire NFL. Derek Carr puts up numbers year in, year out. Justin Herbert is the next big-time stud at quarterback, and Patrick Mahomes has been to 2 Super Bowls in the last 2 years. So if you're going to go with Drew Lock, what are you doing? If you're going to go with Teddy Two Gloves, what are you doing? Every week, if you're a Bronco fan, you go into a divisional game with the 4th best quarterback in your division. And we're not just talking about good quarterbacks. We're talking about great quarterbacks. You look at Derek Carr's numbers over the last 3 years. Doesn't matter who is coaching him. Doesn't matter if his wide receiver is in jail. Doesn't matter if his tight end. He made Hunter Renfrow catch 99 balls this year. So if you're the Broncos, you need to get a really good quarterback because this is not cutting it. Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater going up against these studs is not cutting it. Okay, let's move to the Raiders. Listen, the Raiders had a chance to win. What a good game it was. They came back against a very good Cincinnati Bengal team. This Raider team just needs to find out, leadership comes from the top. Terrible job hiring John Gruden, but this team has some playmakers. They need to get other wide receivers, and they need to shore up their defense. But I got to be honest with you, man. Derek Carr is a franchise quarterback. He may not be top 10. As long as you have a franchise quarterback, you're in good positions. Now, I don't know what they're going to do regarding their coaching, so that's up in the air. Apparently, they all want their coach who replaced John Gruden to stay. All the players do. And I got to give them credit, man. This Raider team did not quit, and they were 1 possession away from actually, going to the next round. They were 1 possession away from going to the next round. So you look at the AFC West. You look at the AFC East. Next week, we'll break down the AFC, and then the following week, the rest of the AFC. Then we'll break down the NFC and the NFC West. But this is just a good, indication. By the way, this is a good indication. Sorry to even interrupt myself. By the way, I would fire Robert Saleh. I would fire him. And again, I don't care if it's 1 year. Okay? I don't care if it's 1 year. I would fire him immediately. Okay? He's done a terrible – if you could fire Brian Flores, you could fire Robert Saleh. Right? If you could fire Brian Flores, you could fire Robert Saleh. Okay, let's do something that we love to do, and that is surf the crowd. We're going to get Rico on in a minute with the rest of the crew, but make sure to give us the thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to the Nuts and Bolts YouTube channel, and let's see what the crowd has to say here. Monty, move there. Fact. Okay, facts. Yeah, he came into a mess, but Greg, again, listen, I don't sit here and say that I'm right. It's my opinion. I would fire Brandon Staley. I would fire Robert Saleh just because I've watched them play and the game management and the mental mistakes they've made. Not doing it. We've seen young coaches like a Matt LaFleur, like a Sean McVay. The Rams were a mess before Sean McVay got there. Right, Jared Goff had never won a game under Jeff Fisher. They were going to put Jared Goff on waivers until Sean McVay got there. And Sean McVay has changed the Rams around. So, I don't want to hear that it's 1 year. A coach makes a difference every year. Yes, I think Mike Vrabel struggled his first year, but you could tell the guy had a presence about him. He should be coach of the year, the coach from Tennessee, as far as I'm concerned. He's grown into that position. But I look at Robert Saleh, I look at Brandon Staley, and I give him the axe, man. Get him out. Get him out. Okay, we're going to bring on Rico, Show Me the Money, Graziano. Rico, how are you this early morning?
I'm doing good. You're right. It's very early here in California, but it's warm. So, sometimes you got to take the good with the bad.
Okay, Rico, before we get into all the NFL stuff and have the other two gentlemen join us, very, very disappointed yesterday. I had to call Rico for something, and we were all going out to eat, my dad, my sister. So Rico's on the phone, and, my parents are sick of me. They don't like me anymore. I get it. I don't like me anymore either.
They're not the only ones.
Exactly. But really, Rico, you're going to take a dig at me right this early in the morning? You're already starting? So the whole car lights up because Rico's on the phone, like he's a puppy dog or something. You have them fooled that you're this like sweet, innocent guy. I know the degenerate you are.
Yeah, but they love me for the degenerate I am. It's one thing to love somebody else who's not your kid for being the degenerate that they are. But when it's your kid who's the degenerate, that's where the problem lies.
And then to make one of the things that's really great about the popularity of this show is not me, it's the guests. Anytime the Steelers lose, I'll get to how's Rico doing. But yesterday, after we got off the phone, 20 minutes they're talking about you. I'm like, can we not talk about Rico?
That's good because in my head I was thinking that they were talking about me for at least 30 minutes, telling you how great I was.
Well, no, let's slow down. There was no great comment in there.
No, you know why? Because your parents. I gush over them when I see your parents and your sister. I'm as big as a fan as they are of me. I am as big with them. I see your parents. I love them. They're the best.
Rico, rough night? Was it a rough night for you?
It's funny. Last night was such a not rough night that it felt like a rough night. Couldn't have been the Giovanni and Melissa was sleeping like at 10 o'clock. So I just didn't know what to do with myself, and I was up till like 1 o'clock watching like different.
Did you see
TV
Cobra
shows.
Kai yet?
No, I have not seen it yet.
What are you waiting for?
I don't know. I keep getting sidetracked by. I keep getting sidetracked by other shows.
What show are you watching right now?
Yellowstone. I'm watching Yellowstone, and I watched the DC, the comic book stuff. DC, they have like animated series, not series, animated movies.
Okay,
and they're really big, and there was like 2 of them on last night that I was watching. That they were like an hour and a half long. That were really good.
Now, are you a Marvel guy?
No, I'm more of a DC guy.
My brother Pete's going to lose his mind. He says DC doesn't know how to make movies.
Well, that's true. They don't know how to make movies, but you're right. They don't, because they're darker tone, and people want a little funny, more, a little. They want the gimmick that Marvel plays over and over. When you watch a Marvel movie, it's like watching a TV show, like a comedy. It's the same show. It's like, it's the same type of script every week.
Wow, look at this.
It's press.
I mean, just the constant cracks.
I got the star of my show is coming in to say
Oh, bring him
hello.
on. Bring him on. We're waiting for Jeff and George.
Hold
Bring
on.
him on.
No.
Hold on. Giovanni, say hello.
Hi.
Hello. How are you?
Wow. He loves this. There's this cartoon that he loves. It's a British guy named Steve and Maggie. It's so funny the things that they obsess about. So it's this guy, Steve, and he's got his little sidekick cartoon named Maggie, who is a scarecrow. It's a BBC show.
What?
And every time it comes on, he's like, Papa Steve. Look, you can't wait to show me.
Is it his favorite show, obviously?
Yeah, he loves it.
What would you compare it to?
What's that?
What would you compare it to? Like what type of
It's
young
like
show?
a Blues Clues.
Oh, okay.
It's like that, like, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, hold on a second. Speaking of that.
All right, I love live TV that Rico just tunes in and out.
I'm sorry, I got a kid.
Rico, here's a question for you right here. Peacemaker, you watch that?
No, I have not. I heard it's a good show.
Are you going to watch that? It's a DC show.
Yes, I will.
All right, Rico, while you're taking care of your
sorry.
Look at the hair on that kid, man. God bless him.
Say hi, Monty.
Hi, Monty.
I miss you.
He's not as happy to see me as he is to see Levi.
No, when he sees Levi, he gushes over Levi.
All right, let's bring on Jeff Barnes right here. Jeff, how are you this morning?
Not bad in yourself.
I'm doing good, Jeff. Is that a Michigan? What is that? What is that sweatshirt?
This is my alma mater. Now
there you go. All right. How's it going, Jeff? You must be very excited. Your Dallas Cowboys lost, but I think I know you well enough to know. Rico, we're going to get to the Steelers in a minute, too. So I went off on Dak Prescott. One of the things that really turned me off at the beginning of this show is at first he said, yeah, if the fans are upset, I could see them throwing stuff at the refs. I mean, come on. That's where your leader, Jeff, has to step up. You know, he failed the test when they asked him about COVID, when he said, oh, that's a HIPAA violation. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. So how do you feel about the Cowboys' loss? And I got to be honest with you, Jeff. I don't see any way this team gets better as long as Mike McCarthy's at the helm, because 14 penalties is directly on the coach. That running play, whatever you want to say about it, it didn't work, so it was a bad play. How does Dallas survive moving forward with Mike McCarthy?
That is the magic question. Honestly, when I look at this game, LC, no, I'm not wearing any rings this morning. I've been getting my hands dirty. Been getting my hands dirty. You can't wear the championship rings when you're getting your hands dirty. It messes them up. But basically, when I look at this Cowboy team, it is a disappointment. It is a disappointment, not just because of the talent, but it's a disappointment because of the kind of season you had. You go undefeated in your division. You win 12 games overall. You get the third seed. You go in and you have a big thud at home. A thud where you come out with an offensive game plan that we talked about it during halftime was totally flawed. Okay, you came out, you didn't run the football effectively till the one drive where you do score 7 points, and it's just horrible. It was just when you look at the game itself, the execution was poor. The game plan, especially offensively, was poor. I get to give the defense credit because realistically, they should have lost that game by 40-something points the way they played. But the fact that they gave up the early touchdown on defense and was able to hold 49ers to field goals after that showed that the defense was able to adjust and at least give the offense a fighting chance. Now, Dak is upset, like many Cowboys are upset with the referees. And listen, you have reason to be upset with the referees. Let's be realistic. Anybody that holds the ball up till 2 seconds left on the play clock and then calls you for delay a game, as a coach, as I'm Mike McCarthy, I'm having a hard time not getting a 15-yarder right there because that's absolutely absurd. But to go out there and say what you said after the game about, listen, it's unacceptable for fans to throw anything on the field. Okay, that's not what you're there for. You're there to enjoy the game. If it doesn't turn out your way, it doesn't turn out your way. You can be upset all you want, but you have no right to throw anything on the field. If you do that, you should be banned for life. So and I've said that on Twitter, and I have no shame in my game about it.
But Jeff, can I say something too here with Dak's comments? Like, if I'm a referee and the NFL fines this guy $25,000, which is nothing, they should have fined him $250,000 because You want your players, no matter what, say, hey, these guys are like us. They're doing a job. They're human. Under no circumstances should there be any violence towards these guys. It's almost like the NFL saying, refs, you know what? We're not paying attention to you either.
Yeah, and like I said, it should never have happened. He should never have said what he said. But that goes into a bigger problem with the officials. And we talk about this on a weekly basis. I don't think there's any one of the 16 games every week that we watch, there is not a blown call in it. And we can go through, yes, I get refs are human. I've been a ref one year, and trust me,
I've refed several games, so I know.
Yeah, I realize it's not for me. I'm not an impartial person. At some point, somebody's gonna get me to the point where I want to throw the flag on them all the time. That's why I don't referee. I stick to coaching. I can be partial that way. But the fact of the matter is, all right, we're seeing way too many blown calls. Okay, and it affects games now. It is different when it doesn't affect games. We're watching game after game where there's a crucial point in the game where you question a pass interference, you question a hold, you question. As somebody who coaches this game, we always go to the refs and say, what do you consider holding, right? If they tell you inside framework of the body is not considered holding, and you see a guy throw a flag for inside framework of the body, you're going to be upset. Okay. Now, like I said, that egregious penalty with the delay of game was horrible. The end of the game, okay, that's on them for calling that play. I would not call anything like that with 14 seconds in the game. However, as the referee who's supposed to be spotting the ball, for you to stand there 25 yards away.
He was so out of position.
Yeah.
He was so out of position.
When you see the guy break the line of scrimmage and you're still standing there.
You got to run with him 100%.
Okay.
All right, Jeff.
It's so mixed crews, for the playoffs, they're mixing the crews, which
I don't know why they're doing that.
You can see the disarray on the field for every call. They're like, it's like the first time they're meeting each other. Every time they get together, it's like, hey, I'm Bill, I'm Bob. What happened there?
All right, so
it looks like arguments in the middle of they have arguments. It's looking like.
Yeah.
Okay, Jeff.
It's just a bigger problem that no matter how the players complain about it, they're going to get fined if they even think about saying something. But it doesn't fix the problem. So if you don't fix the problem, you're going to have this with somebody else. It won't just be Dak Prescott. It'll be somebody else next year.
Okay, Jeff. So real quick, give us a minute answer to this question. Then we'll move on to Rico and the Steelers. Why don't they just say, Dan Quinn, you take over this team. We've seen what he's done with this defense. And Mike McCarthy, either you accept the offensive coordinator job, Kellen Moore out the window. Mike McCarthy running a team, he's been a disaster. He's 29-31. Remember something. He was 4-7 with in his second year before he got fired. In his last year before he got fired, he was 6-10 with Aaron Rodgers. So he's 29-31. Mike McCarthy, to me, is not a good coach.
Well, the good thing about him in Dallas is he has no say over personnel like he did in Green Bay. That's what the problem was in Green Bay. He had a lot of say over personnel. He has less say in Dallas. So he'll always have the talent to win games that he didn't have at times in Green Bay. I mean, look at some of the teams that he had in Green Bay when Aaron Rodgers was hurt or Jordy Nelson was hurt, or the guys behind them were just not as talented. All right, so you're looking at a different animal in Dallas. However, it comes to he was hired to get him over a hump that, let's face it, Jason Garrett would have won that game.
That's a good point.
Jason Garrett would have won that game. And the reason being, they would have been ready. They would have been focused. They would have been set. You never saw Jason Garrett go into a playoff game where the team wasn't ready. They may have been out-coached at times, but they were never questioned about being ready. So
that's a good point.
That's the point where you look at Mike McCarthy and say, now, again, I think the most egregious thing was that he didn't do what a head coach is supposed to do. As a head coach, you are supposed to coach your staff. Your staff is supposed to coach the players more than you do. So when Kellen Moore is out there with that horrible game plan, at some point you get on the headset and say, hey, Kellen, Let's run the ball. Let's control the clock. Let's take advantage of the soft coverage. Let's do the things as an offensive coordinator you're supposed to do. Okay, I have guys up there in the box. If you want to be on the sideline that are sending you information, if you're not listening, then hey, if you can't get the job done, I'm going to take over calling plays. Because plain and simple, as the head coach, it all falls on you. Your job is to manage the staff. When his game plan was flawed and he didn't correct it, that's on Mike McCarthy. But when you look at the overall offensive production, that's on Kellen Moore. So everybody that's offering this guy a head coaching job should be looking at that as a red flag, saying, whoa, he goes into a playoff game with a game plan that doesn't make any sense. How am I going to expect this guy to come in and turn around and say, hey, this is the guy that I want running my franchise? No. No. Absolutely not.
I don't see how this team is ever going to go far in the playoffs when you're going up against elite coaches like a Shanahan, like a McVay, like a LaFleur, or even if they ever get to the Super Bowl against a Bill Belichick or Andy Reid. Mike McCarthy's not the guy. All right, let's bring on George Lopez. George, how are you this morning?
Hey, good morning, guys. Sorry I'm a little late. I was having some connection issues with my computer.
No problem. Are you on your phone or the computer?
I'm on my phone.
Okay, just do me a favor. I told this to Rico 2 weeks ago. Just turn your phone sideways. So this way one more time. No. One more time. The other way. Keep going. All right, just leave it like that. Didn't work.
I'm not going to leave it like that.
All right, Rico. So let's talk about the Steelers. I wrote an article 4 years ago, one of my very first articles on Nuts and Bolts Sports. I said the Steelers won't go back to the Super Bowl for a decade. I'm like, Big Ben is done. I called this 4 years. There you go, George. There you go. You just had it. Keep working on that. We'll get it. But I called it 4 years ago. And now I'm hearing Marcus Mariota is going to be a Pittsburgh Steelers. One of the things me and my friend Andrea always talk about is Marcus Mariota was such a clean-cut guy. All of a sudden, he has this ZZ Top beard, and now the rumors he's going to take over for Big Ben with this beard. Are you hearing anything with that? And where do the Steelers go from here?
You know, it's funny. You brought that up the other day, and I heard it like whispers of it prior to that. And you know how it works. You know, like if you start hearing, some rumors, there's some truth to it. Like, they must be looking at him, and it'd be nice to see you become a Steeler fan, because I know if we ended up getting him, you would have no choice but to be a Steeler fan. But there's so much still to go on. Will there be a bidding war for him? Will Pittsburgh engage in something like that? Will he want to come in and start and lead a team, with a good running back that's going to invest in an offensive line? He has a lot of power in this situation also.
But, Rico, you cannot go into next season with Mason Rudolph as your starting quarterback.
No, I don't. Mason Rudolph is a good come in for a quarter type of quarterback. The problem with the two quarterbacks with him and Dwayne Haskins is that they make an okay quarterback.
Yeah, if you can put them together.
Put them together. If you were able to make a Frankenstein of them, they would be okay. It wouldn't be good, but it'd be okay. Here's the thing, and I hate to say it, either one of them I think are better than Ben. At this point, throughout the season, we were watching Ben. We knew it was his farewell tour. It was no secret. He still hasn't said I'm retiring, which I don't think he's ever going to officially say, even though we gave him the fans, have gave him his walking papers. He wasn't planning on that last home game to be this big, goodbye.
Rico, I think halfway through they didn't think they were going to make the playoffs either.
Yeah, no, they didn't. I mean, the way we made the playoffs was a miracle. I mean, the Colts losing to Jacksonville with their third win of the season. I'm kind of a little annoyed too. I would have rather liked to see the Colts in the playoffs than Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh played terrible every game. Every game this year that they won was a terrible win. It was a sloppy Band-Aid put together type of offense and defense, and it was just a sloppy win. They didn't belong there. That's why it was so easy. Did you see, the KC was playing with them. They had Travis Kelce quarterbacking. They threw the touchdown to an offensive lineman. Yeah. They were just joking with them because they knew, I'm sure somewhere in the start of the second quarter, Andy Reid was like, all right, let's get this over with. They were up 7-0. Let's just do this. And they came in, they did it, and they just, watching a football game, they pretty much embarrassed them, and not just to beat them. Like I said, when you're putting your tight end at quarterback, in a playoff game to throw a touchdown. Like that's kind of like, hey,
the smack in the face.
Yeah.
And by the way,
a little grinding to it to show you like we're not even going to our playbook for you.
By the way, like I don't know why Andy Reid, who supposedly the players and coaches love this guy, why Andy Reid would do that to Mike Tomlin and why they would show that play. Because if that's a play that you've worked on and it's a trick play, why are you showing it in a blowout? Save that for when it's a close game.
It's a play that they would never run. That's why. It was a play. It was one of those things. And like that guy who wanted to do the kickoff, in preseason, he always wanted to do, I'm sure Kelsey was always like, I would love to throw a touchdown pass. Come on, coach. Come on. He was like, all right, we'll throw a play in for you. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know what voice you did. Is that what Travis Kelce sounds like right there? Yeah. Come on, coach.
Come on, coach. Come on.
All right.
They all sound like that to me, right, Jeff?
All right, George. You were at SoFi Stadium for the Rams win. I said all week, look, Odell Beckham Jr., go to him early and often. He had a touchdown pass. He had a great throw. I think moving forward, Cooper Kupp's going to get double teamed. I think the key right here is Odell Beckham Jr. because he's a number one wide receiver getting the second or third defensive back on him. So I think he's going to have a field day tomorrow. What was your overall impressions? I think they got a little conservative once they took a big lead. Does that bother you at all?
Yeah, it does bother me that they went a little conservative. When I was at the game, I was sitting there screaming when they went to that shell defense because I'm not a big fan of when Morris goes to that shell defense and I allowed Arizona to march down the field and get that touchdown. My whole thing was stay aggressive the way you've been playing defense all game. Stay with what's working. Why change it? Why risk the possibility of giving them momentum? And McVay was doing the same thing. And granted, Whitworth got hurt early on in that game. That could have been a reason McVay started going more conservative on offense. But I'll tell you what, that was an amazing experience at SoFi. I had never been at a location for a game in a playoff and hear it to be that loud since I was at a Laker playoff game at the Forum.
Wow, that's amazing.
That place was rocking on Monday night.
Now, did a lot have to do with that Arizona doesn't really travel well as a team? Because we've seen, a few weeks ago, maybe 2 months ago, the Raider fans were all there. Was it predominantly Ram fans in the stadium?
It was at least 90 to 95% Ram fan. There were Cardinal fans there, but it was pretty much a Ram fans at the game.
Okay. All right, Jeff, let's move towards the teams. Good.
Point out real quick that I said that Arizona was going to lose in the first round since week 6. Just saying.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. And I was 6-0 picking games last week. Got everyone right. All right, Jeff. I think Brandon Staley should be fired. I ranted on this at the opening of the show. People say you can't fire him after a first year. That's BS because they fired Urban Meyer after the first year. So, but if I look at a team that didn't make the playoffs, who do you think is in the best position next year to come back and be a legitimate playoff team? Without Brandon Staley, I would say the Chargers. With him, they're 50-50. Who would you say?
You have to go with the Chargers. I mean, there's a couple of teams on the NFC side that just missed it. I mean, but if you look at the Saints, there's still a lot of questions going on with that roster. Does Michael Thomas come back? Because there's a rift there that's going on with him in the front office and Sean Payton as well. So is Jameis Winston the answer at quarterback for the Saints? So there's so many questions with the Saints. You can't really put them in that conversation just yet. However, the team with the most consistent roster that missed, it's got to be the Chargers.
Or even Denver if they get a quarterback, because you look at this quarterback division. If Denver could get someone who can make plays, they have a pretty good roster too, Jeff.
I wasn't disappointed with the 2 quarterbacks that Denver had. I was disappointed in the coach. And to be honest with you, with Denver, you talk about that situation. We talk about defensive coaches. Some of them are smart enough to leave the offense to a very good offensive coordinator. That wasn't Vic Fangio.
Right.
Vic Fangio was going to be that control the ball, don't make mistakes, let my defense win the game. And he got what you got from Vic Fangio. And it is not that he's a bad coach. He's a very good defensive coordinator. But as a head coach, that mentality doesn't always work. And in most of the time, you tend to fall short a lot of times because you don't have what it takes to compete with the teams who have that big-time offensive firepower. So it put him in a situation where you're competing for your job the last couple of weeks of the season. You don't have that kind of offense because that's not the kind of offense you chose not to have. And now you're in a situation where you're getting beat by those teams.
Yeah.
He had chances against the Raiders. He had chances against the Chiefs. He had chances against all those teams.
Yeah.
But because you're not built to beat those teams, you don't beat those teams consistently.
Okay. That's a great point. That's why I said, I'm like, you're going against three offenses that are gamblers, the Chiefs, the Chargers, and the Raiders, and you want to win 17-13. It's not going to happen consistently. All right, Rico. So if I'm the Bears, I go after a young offensive coordinator, maybe the Bills offensive coordinator, maybe the guy at Tampa or the guy in Kansas City. You get someone who has a history of offensive weapons because the Bears who has a history of developing offensive talent because the Bears have been a defensive team for as long as I can remember. They've never been an elite offensive team, and you're going up against whether it's Aaron Rodgers or whatever. So who is your first guy that if you're if you're the Bears or one of these teams looking to get a head coach, who do you hire? Are you going after Harbaugh from Michigan?
Well, I know George is going to like this. I like Eric Bieniemy. I think I think it's his turn. I think he gets a lot of because he's got such a talented crew around him right now, right? And he's just so good with them that I think it's time that he gets a shot. Brian, you can go Brian Flores, but I'm not really crazy about him. But I think Eric Bieniemy is the guy to go with and give him a shot there, and see what his see what his chops look like, see how good he is. That's who I like there. I would like there to see or somewhere because I think that it's his turn. It's time to put the headphones on him and have him run the show somewhere else.
Yeah, listen, done a tremendous job as a Chiefs offense coordinator. All right, George, same question.
Well, I think when it comes to the head coach, especially like in Chicago, you need to have someone there who understands how Justin Fields plays. Bieniemy, I think, would be a great choice in Chicago. He has a quarterback now, like Patrick Mahomes, who I think Justin Fields can emulate on the field. But that's whoever the next head coach is going to be, he's got to get the right coordinators in to help that team. And it's not necessarily Bieniemy coaching Mahomes or calling plays. He's got to get the right coordinator in. But I do think Bieniemy would be a great choice in Chicago. And I agree. It is his time. We were actually kind of, a bunch of our friends that are USC fans. It would be great to get Bieniemy as an ex-USC coach before they got Lincoln Riley. He's a Southern California guy. He would know the recruiting process. But, yeah, it is his time to become a head coach. I think he would do a tremendous job with with Justin Fields.
Jeff, what about Byron Leftwich in Tampa? You like him as a potential head coaching prospect, if not this year, maybe next year?
I think he would be great in Jacksonville, honestly. I think he would be great in Jacksonville. You have somebody who's familiar with the franchise that the fans identify with. He's an excellent offensive mind. He's one of those young generation of coaches that you want coming in. He's come up the tree. So you talk about guys that work their way up through the system. Well, Leftwich has done that. He's played at the level. He's coached at the level. He's been groomed for this at this point. You talk about what Arian said. These guys are head coaching candidates because they've been groomed that way ever since they started coaching. But when you look at his ability, here's a guy that came in. He had Jameis Winston. All of a sudden, the next year, you get Tom Brady. And you find a way to melt minds with a 40-something-year-old quarterback who's going to tell you how it is. So he's been able to adapt, something that coaches need to be able to do because you can't just come in with that iron fist and say it's my way or the highway anymore. This is grown men. These are guys getting paid, in some cases, more than you. You got to find a way to make things work. And he's done just that.
Here's Andrea's been saying this all along. If the Bears hire Jim Caldwell, she's going to riot. And I do not blame her because I want a young, progressive, offensive-minded coach in Chicago. I don't want one of these old school guys who's just, has no creativity. So I agree with you, Andrea, there. Okay, Jeff, let's get right to it. We're going now. Who are the top 8 coaches remaining in the playoffs? Go from 8 to 1.
All right. So if I'm going with 8 right now, I'm going to go Zach Taylor. I think he's done a very good job. But you
For
know
the
what?
Bengals, yes.
I think the guys on the field had a lot to say about what happened this year. All right. So when all said and done, he's a good offensive mind. He's a quality head coach. I won't say he's great just yet. I won't crown him, but I'll say right now, out of the guys that are left, number 8 is him.
Jeff, just do me a favor. Just say the teams that they're with, because there are some people who may
Zach
not know.
Taylor, yes, Zach Taylor with Cincinnati.
Right.
As far as number 7, okay. Whew, I battle with these ratings because some of these guys, I'm like, all right. Listen, number 7, I'm going to go with Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan with San Francisco. And the reason why I'm going to say that is the consistency. He's had some very good years in San Francisco. He's had some very lean years. Some years it was because of the building process. Some years because of injury. But when you have certain injuries in certain positions and it takes you totally out of your game as a coordinator, you got to look at it as a head coach, I should say. You got to look at it and say, okay, there's got to be a better way I build my roster where one injury doesn't cripple my team. And that's what happens at times with him at quarterback, okay? Yeah, you drafted this young rookie, but you have to find a way, if you're this offensive guru that we keep saying you are, to continue to score points. He doesn't always do that, okay? So,
and I think Jimmy G drove him nuts with missing wide receiver and that interception when he rolled out against Dallas. Kyle, I said this to my friend Jared, Kyle Shanahan literally took his playbook and was like screaming after he covered his face because he was probably like, man, this guy sucks. What are we doing with him?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you live with who you got, right? So we know Jimmy G has those moments of brilliance, and then he has those moments of what is that, right? And you got to live with it. You got to put the ball in his hands enough times. You're going to have to live with those mistakes. It's like with Favre. Yeah, he gave you a lot of great things, but Brett threw a lot of bad interceptions in his career. All right, so number 6. Okay, I'm going to go with the young man in Buffalo. Okay.
Wow, really?
Yes, because, and I'm going to tell you why. He's done a great job. Don't get me wrong. All right, but the problem is, has he evolved from the coach that he did when he got there? All right, you look at the team, the talent has grown. Okay, right? We look at it, but as a coach, he's still very much the same. And at times, it gets him in trouble when he gets in situations where, you know what, he becomes into that mode of, this is what we planned on, just like we talked about with the guys in Dallas. This is what we do, right? And
and a lot of times he's way too reliant on Josh Allen to go make a play. We're talking about Sean McDermott, of course. A lot of times he's just like, okay, Josh, go make a play.
Yes. All right. And that's exactly what it is. You know, you get too locked in what you do at times where you should adjust and be a little more flexible. He doesn't do that at times. It's why he got beat by New England at home.
And see how mad he was after that game.
Yeah. He should have been mad at himself, not at Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
All right. Number 4. Or did I do number 5 already? Did I?
Number 5 you're at.
Yeah, number 5. Okay. So number 5, LaFleur. Matt LaFleur in Green Bay. Okay. Very good coach so far. We've seen that. Offensively, he did a great job of getting Aaron Rodgers to buy into his system. However, okay, I don't think he's totally fixed the defensive side like he thought he has. And I've seen that at times this year break down. And so you got to look at this team. Are they balanced enough now? Because we keep talking about at some point they're going to get upset at home in the playoffs. All right. If that's the case, you're a number 1 seed. That shouldn't be the talk around you. And
that's a good point.
So if we talk about that kind of coach, we don't talk about that at Belichick. He's not going to lose. Belichick will find a way. Even when he's a 7 seed, we said that, right? So there's something about him when it comes down to it. You look at his games. You look at the games that they barely scraped by, the games that they've lost. There's always been a decision in there that makes you go, Well, even if you go back to last year, the conference championship game,
he didn't go 41 for the field goal.
Yeah. So there's always something about it where he gets into a situation, and some people say it's the yips. Sometimes you just make bad situational calls as a coach, and he's got to prove that he is now consistently going to be trustworthy in those situations. He hasn't done it yet. All right, so that's why he is where he is. All right, number 4.
You got number 4 now.
All right. So number 4.
So this is who you have left, right? You have Tampa Bay coaching staff, the Rams coaching staff. You have the Tennessee Titans coaching staff. And who's the other one am I missing here? And wait, so you got the Rams left. You did Cincinnati, San Francisco, Bills, Green Bay.
Yeah, so we're looking at Rams, Tampa.
You're looking at Andy Reid, the Rams. Okay, go ahead.
All right, so number 4, Sean McVay.
Okay.
All right, so I love Sean McVay as an offensive mind. I like the fact that he's given Raheem Morris full control of that defense. Right? He's saying, listen, I'm an offensive-minded coach. I know what I want. I expect you to take over that side of the ball. Smart move, way to delegate that authority, especially if you're not in that mindset on defense. Because sometimes you get offensive coaches that think that they know defense and they don't, and it shows. All right, so there was a smart move. Do I put him over an Andy Reid just yet? No. Do I put him over Bruce Arians yet? Not just yet. Okay. So there's a reason why he is where he is. But right now, if I look at him and Mike Vrabel, I'm trusting Vrabel a little more, because if you look at it, his bell cow was out the second half of the season. And yet he still found a way to get that team to perform to the number 1 seed. So
you have Vrabel at 3, Arians at 2, and Andy Reid at number 1, correct?
Exactamundo.
Okay, let me just go ahead.
And now people say, well, why Andy Reid? He's only won 1 Super Bowl. But when you look at the situation with Andy Reid, here's a guy that came into Philadelphia, made him a consistent winner. All right, got him to a Super Bowl, got him to several championship games. They said he couldn't win the big one. Goes to Kansas City, wins again, right, with Alex Smith at the helm. It says, okay, it's time for this young man that I sat for a year to take over. And what has he done ever since then? Conference championship, Super Bowl, Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Right? So there is no more argument about Andy Reid, and at some point he should be wearing a yellow jacket.
And we talk about like organizations that just mire in failure and they just suck no matter who coaches because of leadership, right? We say that with the Bears. We say that with the Jets. We say that with the Jaguars. But you got to look at this decision by then the Washington Redskins. They had Matt LaFleur, who is now with the Green Bay Packers. They had Kyle Shanahan, who's now with the 49ers, and Sean McVay, who coaches the Rams. And they went with Jay Gruden, John Gruden's brother. You had these 3 elite offensive minds, and you totally screwed the pooch on this one because you picked Jay Gruden. What, Rico, you don't agree?
Well, no, I'm just saying, like, who's going to pick the tight ends coach to be your head coach? Like,
but what I'm saying, he developed. He developed.
Well, yes, he developed, but, you can't. I mean, you could probably look at a lot of teams that have had that type of situation. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Rico, but not like this. This is I talk about this all the time. People talk about the Bill Belichick tree or the Walsh tree or the Andy Reid tree. No one gives any credit to the Shanahan tree. You look at these 3 guys who have been dominating in the same conference. Imagine if one of these guys was in the AFC, right? We might be talking a little bit different about how great Andy Reid has been if he has to go against Sean McVay twice a year. Matt LaFleur's won 13 games for 3 straight years in a row. Yeah, and I know he has Aaron.
I think he's the best of the 3.
Me too. And I'll get to that in a minute. Okay, Rico, talk about your quarterbacks go 8 through 1.
Well, I mean, you could say it's number 8 is easy, Ryan Tannehill. I just think he's down on the bottom of the list because what's above him is just so elite. There's not.
So you have more confidence in Jimmy G than Ryan Tannehill.
Actually, I do. I don't think Jimmy G is.
Wow.
Look at George's reaction.
Jimmy G got them there. Like, you know what? They won. At the
They
end of
won
the day, they
Jimmy
won.
G.
They won the game. Jimmy G had a lot to do with it on some, he did do a lot of, he missed a lot of open plays, but yet when it came down to it, he made some moves, I mean, he'll stare at his receiver a little too long for a guy who's been in the league as long as he has. They even pointed it out during the game. They're like, he was throwing to him the whole time. There was nobody else. Like, even though that guy across the field was wide open, he was looking left. And then
so you're taking Tannehill at 7. I mean, at 8. Who's number 7?
Well, number 7 is Tannehill. So it's Tannehill, Garoppolo,
right.
And then I'm going Matt Stafford for the obvious reasons of who's above him. So then you go to Joe Burrow. Now, I was talking about this with like a Joe Burrow. He's the type of guy that not only is he throwing dimes when he's out there, he's not turning the ball over. He's not making those mistakes that you get, like that you won't get. Like, You're not getting these mistakes from like elite quarterbacks like Brady.
He's
Mahomes
very
almost
mature,
to
Joe
an
Burrow.
extent.
Very mature.
Aaron Rodgers, like not just mature, like he's not. You know, like a lot of quarterbacks, you expect them to give you a turnover somewhere during a game, whether it's a fumble or an interception or a tip pass. For some reason, he's one of those guys who's not throwing those type of passes, and you know that's why Burrow is above Matt Stafford. I think Matt Stafford is good. He still has to prove himself in the playoffs. I didn't feel that comfortable watching him. He did play well, but I wasn't as confident as I am with these next few guys that I have on my list.
Okay, go through it. I know you're going to throw Josh Allen in the top 3, and I'm going to lose my mind.
Well, you know, so we're going on quarterbacks. We're not going on how I feel about the quarterback with the team. I'm going on pure quarterback.
Okay, again, I'm going to lose my mind if he's in the top 3.
So you get ready to lose your mind because on this list, on my top 4, which is, you know, it's what's left is Brady, Mahomes, Rodgers, and Allen. I put Brady at 4 purely because he's more one-dimensional in the sense that the other 3 quarterbacks move. They're, you know, Tom Brady is one of the purest pocket passers, but today he's going to have pressure up the middle coming right at him all game. He's going to have to move today, whether he likes it or not. So going on today's game, he's going to have a tough one. But out of the 3,
actually, Sunday's game, because people may watch this and be like, "What's going on?"
Not
Sunday's game.
On Sunday's game. If I'm playing Madden on the thing, he's not my top 4. Just saying.
Oh my God. Okay, so who's your top 3? Allen's 3?
No, well, I'm going to go. Actually, number 3, I'm going to go with Josh Allen. Yes, I'm going to go with Josh Allen because I wrote this list like 5 times, but I was going from 1 to 8, and I switched my top 3 a lot. And Allen actually did make it up there, especially by the performance he had. Not only was he playing like an elite running back, he was playing like a leader in that game. Like, you know, and that's what he was missing. Every game that they lost this year, it was missing the aspect of it's my game to make it happen. Like the Cowboy players, like Troy Aikman and Michael Irvin said, when we went out there, we said, if we don't do this, we lose. He had that type of mentality, which moved him up my list to number 3.
You made a great point, Rico, because he really dominated and said, this is on me. Like, I don't know if you saw, and it's going to be interesting if what we see, but there was a defensive player from the Bills, and he said before the Patriot game, you know, they get and they talk. He goes, end of an era starts tonight. These guys don't respect us. We're going to bust their ass. He goes, end of an era. We're talking about the Patriots, and they went out and did it. It's going to be interesting if they have that same swagger and cockiness going into Kansas City and saying the same thing, end of an era, because the Bills won that game before they took the field against the Patriots, and you don't see that often.
No, that's a good point.
Before we continue, I have one issue with what Buffalo did after that game against New England. Why the hell were they playing We Are the Champions?
Wow.
It was a wild card game.
I missed that, but yeah, why would they do that?
Maybe that's a tradition after they win a game. I don't know. But yeah. All right. So who's 2-1, Rico?
So number 2 is Mahomes, just because, you know, he's Patrick Mahomes, and you could always put him in the top 3 of any list. It doesn't matter, you know, where he goes. But he falls into the category where every so often he'll make the mistake that, like a guy like, and I say it like a Burrow or a Rodgers very rarely make that mistake. You'll see him. This is why Rodgers will be number 1, because they're both mobile. People don't give Aaron Rodgers that much credit on his mobility because he only runs for the first down. He's not looking to bust up for 30 yards up the field.
Right.
You know, Aaron Rodgers will run 10, get his first, and slide. Even if he can get 2 or 3 more yards, he's not going to even risk it. So I got Patrick Mahomes because he's Patrick Mahomes, and we all know how great and dynamic he can be on the field and how he can take over a game at any moment. But then you have a guy like who's my number 1, who's Aaron Rodgers, because – you know, I mean, Mr. Cool himself back there. I mean, I was watching a game last night on NFL Network of them versus San Francisco when he did that last drive with 23 seconds. We've seen him do it in the playoffs 3 years ago against Dallas. Jeff remembers when he came down the field with Devontae Adams' catch on the sideline to get the field goal. You know, he's Mr. Cool. He's Mr. Cool.
I can't argue.
Again, he moves. He's very elusive, He'll stay in the pocket and stay elusive. Don't know how he does it. Throws off his back foot, dimes off his back foot when he has to. I mean, he's just got so many aspects of this game. He's 38 years old. I mean, I love everything about him. I think like today, he's going to have a great game, and he's that type of guy too. This is on us. This is on me. If I don't have a great game, we lose. And he's always had that mentality. On week 3, right to the playoffs, he has that mentality.
Well, I will say this too regarding Aaron Rodgers. One of the things that he doesn't get enough credit for is he'll look at a Randall Cobb or he'll look at a Devontae Adams. He'll give him a hand signal, and boom, open for a touchdown. The way he adjusts at the line of scrimmage, or how many times, at least once a game, does he get another team trying to substitute? He'll snap the ball, throw it 30 yards down the field because he knows it's an offside. He is a genius pre-snap. Probably the best pre-snap guy I've ever seen.
Yeah, you're right. He calls more. I mean, 4th and 1, he'll get a team go off sides. And I'm always shocked. I'm like, how? How could the defense let that happen? But he's done it more, like you said. He catches that guy running off the field. He knows that guy's not going to make it. They're at the line. He rushes him. Yeah, he's got really good smarts on the field too.
I will say this, one of the best lines I ever heard, and obviously I'm rooting for the Packers, but there was a rumor that Aaron, by the way, I don't know if you guys know this, but the NFL, I don't think they're going to do testing the week before the Super Bowl.
Of course not.
I mean, they're not going to do testing. So pathetic. But someone put, Aaron Rodgers is going to boycott the Super Bowl if he has to get, the vaccination. And someone said, hey, wait a minute. He's boycotted the Super Bowl 15 out of the last 16 years. So I was like, come on, man. I mean, all right, George. Big part of today's game is the passing. Again, Odell Beckham Jr. to me is going to have a monster game against the Bucs tomorrow night. Give us your top 8 wide receivers, 8-1.
I was thinking about this list, and I wanted to, I'm including tight ends.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, I'm including tight ends in this. Number 8, I'm going to go with Gronk, because Gronk is just a mismatch any way you look at it. He can outrun a linebacker, and he's too strong to be for a safety one-on-one to really bring him down. So Gronk, he shines come playoff time. So I'm going to put him at number 8.
And that's Brady's security blanket now that he's lost these guys, Rob. And Jeff, not to interrupt George here, but, Gronk has lost speed over the years. He doesn't really run precise routes cutting-wise because – Jeff, how is he always open? Is it the scheme? Is it the game plan? Is he just adjust on the fly? How is he always open for someone who's not an elite athlete at this stage of his career?
There was another guy in Dallas that was the same way named Jason Witten.
Yeah, the slowest guy in the NFL.
But yet he still found a way to get open. When you're a guy that's run the routes that you've run over the years, when you have that rapport with a quarterback like you have with Tom Brady, you'll find your way to get open. Right. And it's because, plain and simple, y'all just know exactly when to hit it. It's certain receivers and quarterbacks understand that how to throw me open. When my break is going to come, throw it to where I'm going to be. Some of those guys understand that. They have a great rapport over the years. Him and Tom Brady together. I think if you put him with another quarterback, he's not as productive, but he'll still be productive to a point. He's still a big guy. You can't teach that. That doesn't go away. All right. So he has the ability to still the body defenders off. But he's a guy that you don't single cover really unless you have a big safety that can match up with him or a big corner. What you do is you bracket him. You put one underneath, one over the top, and you don't allow him to get a clean ball in there. All right. So the question is just to make sure those two guys do the role, because if one blows it, he's going to be open in one phase or the other. But either way, he's one of those players who's been a special player since he was in college. We saw this coming out when they got him in the second round. We said that was one of the greatest steals for Bill Belichick. He's going to have a hell of a tight end, and he's been just that over his career. Well,
the only thing that I could say negative about Gronkowski is he has the worst commercials I've ever seen. His commercials are so bad. And can there be a rule if you don't make the playoffs? I don't want to see Baker Mayfield on TV anymore. Right? If you don't make the playoffs, those commercials should not run. George, before we get to your 7, you got to love how Higbee has evolved in this offense. To me, he's one of the most underrated tight ends the way he's played the last couple of weeks.
Agreed. I completely agree. Higbee is an unsung hero on that offense. Everyone talks about, McVay's offense being high flying. It's not. It's predicated off the running game, play action, and move the pocket around. Yeah, Higbee, it gives him it gives Stafford four options. Obviously you got Kupp, OBJ, Van Jefferson, but having Higbee who can run the seam route, who can run it into the flat, and he can take a hit up the middle, over the middle. Yeah, he's an unsung hero on that Rams offense, definitely.
Yeah, he's really played well, and it's almost giving them another option, a security blanket, like you said. Okay, let's get to your now top 7 wide receivers, including tight ends.
Number 7 is A.J. Brown with the Tennessee Titans.
Going to have a big game today.
Have a huge game, honestly, and because of his injury, being prone to injury, I would take A.J. Brown over Julio Jones any day of the week right now on that Tennessee offense. I believe they're 11-3 when A.J. Brown starts.
Yeah, and I said this earlier. Jeff was praising Belichick because the one thing Belichick always does well is every position other than wide receiver. Okay, they drafted this guy instead of going after Deebo Samuel, instead of drafting DK Metcalf and AJ Jones. So I think AJ Brown's going to have a huge game.
I agree. Yeah. I think he's going to go for at least 12 receptions against Cincinnati.
Okay, next.
Okay, number 6. People might be a little shocked when I'm going to put him here. Tyreek Hill.
That low?
That low. The reason I say that is because Tyreek Hill can have games where he's going to go off for 150, 160 yards, and the next week,
2 catches for 24 yards.
Exactly. He has vanishing acts.
Right.
He's a great talent. I'm not saying he's not. I'm looking at consistency, and he doesn't give me the consistency.
Wow, number 6. I'm shocked because if one thing I'm going to do, I'm going to try to force feed Tyreek Hill. Yeah. You guys are shocked too?
Yeah. I listen, I've heard that argument quite a bit, and I understand it. I just think he's too explosive to put at that point. But that's just
okay, me. George, number 5. Go ahead, Rico. What were you going to say?
No, I just think that those games, he just wasn't so much part of the game plan because they didn't really need him as much as they have. A lot of those.
Well, he's disappeared this year more than he has in the past.
He has, yeah, but it wasn't like they were going at him. They weren't. I mean, there's probably 3 games where he was covered well enough to say that. But go ahead. I don't want to interrupt.
Go ahead, George.
All right, number 5, OBJ.
Good pick.
Yeah, OBJ definitely. He's gotten more familiar with the Rams offense. And right now it seems like Stafford is going to him more. Granted, we know that every defenses are going to try to take away Cooper Kupp. And OBJ, like you said, he is a number 1 receiver playing the number 2 spot. He's got with his experience, he understands how to read, how to maneuver around defenses, and he's not afraid of the moment. And he's starting to thrive in this Rams offense. So yeah, I definitely have him as number 5.
Number 4.
Number 4, Travis Kelce.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think Kelce, like Gronk, he is a mismatch. I'm gonna take away that outlier where he threw that touchdown pass because I agree. I don't like what they did. They're doing it against Pittsburgh. I would have saved that. I would have saved that for against Buffalo.
Right.
But he is another mismatch. He's got the size, he's got the speed, he's got tremendous hands. He can run any route. He can go over the middle. He can run it outside. He can run the seam. I put him higher than Gronk because I think he's a little bit quicker, and the youth factor. He's a little bit, a little more healthier, I think too.
Okay, next.
Number 4, I'm gonna go with Deebo Samuel. Deebo Samuel, I've seen this guy twice this year. The guy is just a mismatch. You can't tackle him one-on-one. He's got the body of a linebacker and a wide receiver. The guy is just amazing. As much as I hate the 49ers, I have to give respect where respect is due. I mean, the guy could do everything, come out of the backfield. He could turn a screen pass into a touchdown pretty much any time.
All right, number 3.
Number 3. Oh, who did I have in number 3?
You still have Devontae Adams. You have Stephon Diggs.
Stephon Diggs is number 3 for me.
Okay.
Yeah, number 3. Number 2, believe it or not, I'm going to go Cooper Kupp at number 2.
Okay.
Putting Devontae Adams at number 1.
Okay, listen, can't argue there. All playmakers. It's going to be interesting. We're going to break these games down now. Again, I was 6-0. I'm going to break down mine too as well. But Jeff, George, we'll stick with you here because you're the Rams fan. Rams at Bucks. Real quick, I think the Bucks are not what they used to be. I don't want to bet against Tom Brady, but I am taking the Rams to win this game. And the reason is I just think it's going to be a shootout, and the Rams win something like 37-30 or 34-31. I'm a little nervous about Stafford turning the ball over, but I think this Rams offense is really better than the Tampa Bay offense. Break it down.
First off, I am sick and tired of hearing people on NFL networks or whatever, you don't want to bet against Tom Brady. Last I checked, that man does not walk on water. He's not God. I am so sick and tired of people saying, "Oh, you can't bet against Brady." He doesn't have a 100 winning percentage. He loses games. I've seen him play like crap. His last playoff game in New England, he sucked. So, and I'm just
Rico, why are you so calm right now, Rico?
I'm just tired of that.
As a bettor, you don't bet against Brady. I didn't want to break George's heart because you know how much I love George. I was just going to be like, say what you want to say, but you don't bet against. But that being said, I bet against him in the Philadelphia Super Bowl, and it was a beautiful bet against.
Yeah, I know his teams have won the last 9 divisional games. And again, I think he's probably him and Aaron Rodgers are the 2 greatest quarterbacks of this era. So yeah, he does deliver. In the playoffs. I'm not saying he doesn't. I'm just tired of that little. You don't bet against Brady. Don't bet against Brady. But this game, yeah, it's going to be. I don't know if it's going to be a shootout. I really don't. I have both games and both teams are scoring in the 20s. The Rams losing Whitworth has me a little concerned because I think Tampa Bay can bring pressure on the edges. And two teams have really decimated the Rams' offensive line when it comes to pass rushing. We saw what Tennessee did to them, and we've seen what San Francisco's done to them in both games. So I'm a little concerned that Tampa Bay is going to be able to put pressure on Stafford. Now, Stafford does handle the pressure pretty well, but the offensive line, if they're not going to give him enough time to throw, it could make for a long day for the Rams offense. Now, that being said, I'm curious about Todd Bowles. What is he going to do? We know he likes to bring pressure. What we saw this last year when Patrick Mahomes in the regular season, he ate up Tampa Bay's defense. So what did he do in the Super Bowl? He switched to a shell defense. He went cover 2, went soft, and Andy Reid never made his adjustment to that. Now,
Todd Bowles is a great coordinator, but I saw him in New York. He's a terrible head coach. And there's rumors that Tristan Wirfs might not play, the offensive lineman. He did return to limited practice on Friday. If he doesn't play, that is so bad for Brady because Brady loves this guy. I think Brady was the reason why they drafted him, and he's been a phenomenal offensive lineman for them. But if you don't have him blocking, I think the Rams – defense is going to put a ton of pressure on Brady, especially up the middle, George.
Yeah, that's everybody knows that Tom Brady does not like to be pressured up the middle. On the edge with Leonard Floyd and Von Miller, yeah, that's going to be great. And you're going to try to force Brady up. But the key, Greg Gaines, Aaron Donald, Ashawn Robinson, they definitely have to put pressure up the middle on him, try to get him off his spot. But you can't play back on Brady either because if you sit in zone, Brady's just going to kill you.
He's going to pick you apart. So, yeah, George, give us a score. You're leading. Like me, you like the Rams.
I do like the Rams. I do think, we've seen it the last 2 years. The Rams are just a great matchup against Tampa Bay. I like the game. I like it 28-24 Rams. I think it's going to be a good game. It's going to be a tough game. It's going to be a hard-fought game, but I like 28-24. But it's going to be predicated, can the Rams run the ball consistently enough? They don't have to put up 150 yards, but they got to keep the running game going to the point where they have Stafford throwing no more than 30 passes.
But George, I'm confused. I'm confident, but I'm not a Rams fan. This is the most confident. You seem really confident.
I seem confident because the Rams match up with Tampa Bay. We saw it last year. We saw it earlier this year. The type of defensive line the pressure they can bring, they don't have to blitz Brady. Okay. They can get pressure with. That's what I'm confident about. And I think getting Cam Akers back with fresh legs, with him and Sony Michel, I think they'll be able to get the run game going enough where they're not going to rely on Stafford. Everyone's going to want, Stafford threw for 340 yards, 4 touchdowns earlier this year against Tampa Bay. I would love to see those kind of numbers again, but I want to see the Stafford we saw Monday night.
Okay. Jeff, real quick, and then we'll get to your prediction on the Bills versus Chiefs. Give us a score of the Rams Tampa Bay game.
I'm going to say I'm going to go with 30-28 Rams.
Oh, okay. Rico, who are you taking in this game? You're taking the Bucs, right?
No, I'm not actually.
Whoa! Oh no, we all picked the Rams. That's bad.
The last time I've seen, and hear me out. The last time I've seen Brady go against the front this strong, because like George says, they don't really have to blitz because they already have a natural blitz every play because of their front line. So I'd like, when was the last time Brady's had pressure up the middle like he's going to get tomorrow?
The Giants did that 2 times in the Super Bowl, and it worked for them.
Exactly. And their defense wasn't even that great, but their front line was so powerful. Once you get Brady moving, he's not as great as people think he is.
Brady,
he those second, third looks.
What people don't understand is Brady's good when it's a designed rollout, and he's good at stepping up in the pocket. But when he's got to backtrack and then go laterally, you see him. He just drops like Eli and Peyton Manning used to do. And LC, the reason why the Super Bowl is so late is because we had an extra week this year. Extra game, extra playoffs, that type of thing. All right, Jeff, I'm going to start this off right now. I'm taking the Chiefs to win the Bills. I have not been on the Bills bandwagon all year long. I think they're Josh Allen heavy, where the Chiefs have much more depth and much more spreading the ball around, and they don't have to rely on one player, like George said, with Tyreek Hill disappearing sometimes. Am I crazy in that prediction?
Jeff, you know what it is? It's because everyone's praising Josh Allen and Herbert's not playing, so Monty's got and then he wasn't on the Breeze bandwagon, so now he had to find a new quarterback to rip, so now it's Josh Allen.
No, I will say this. Listen, I had an opportunity early on in the show where I talked about Justin Herbert, so I'm happy. That has nothing to do with it. But I just don't think the Bills have enough around Josh Allen.
Well, this isn't going to be a cakewalk of a game. This is going to be a game where I think at one point Kansas City is going to trail late, because I think at some point their secondary is going to do what it's done in key games this year, and that's going to get barbecued. Key product placement on that one. All right. But yeah, right. That's going to be the Chiefs secondary at times in this game. Barbecue. All right. But nonetheless, overall, I think when you look at it, the Chiefs make plays. They find a way to get their momentum drives. When they get something going, they keep going until all of a sudden the team finds a way to break that momentum. At times that momentum is going to break. The Bills are going to make some plays in this game because the Chiefs' defense is feast or famine. They're either going to stop you or they're going to give up some big plays. We saw that against Cincinnati when they lost to Cincinnati. All right, so I think at some point Josh Allen puts the Bills in position to win in the second half. But Pat Mahomes is going to make enough plays to pull it out in the end. My prediction, 37-33.
I like that prediction. And I will say this, Jeff. A lot of people
I need some of that the advertising money. Lay's hit me up.
Jeff, let's get Lay's to sponsor Jeff. Listen, people talk about the Chiefs defense, but one thing I will say, for the most part, Steve Spagnuolo did it with the Giants. Come playoff time, his defense causes turnovers. They get to the quarterback. Yes, Josh Allen's a different animal because even if a linebacker goes to tackle him, Josh Allen's bigger than most linebackers. But, I think Steve Spagnuolo could be the key here.
Well, he is the key. Look at the 2 Super Bowls they played in, okay? Neither one of those Super Bowls was his defense dominant. They were feast or famine. They had streaks where they were very, very good. They had streaks where they were bad. Like San Francisco was leading in that game before they of course, gave up the lead. Right? Why? Because they were able to move the ball on his defense, and then finally he found a point where he got the momentum on his defense to get the stops that they needed, and his offense took over. They're a momentum team. When they're playing high, they're riding high. When they're playing low, they're giving up points. Yeah. They're not scoring points. So what happens is his defense is just that. And it was like that at times with the Giants. Yeah, it was like that. It was like that when he was with the Giants at times when they won those Super Bowl runs. They would have times where their defense would get shredded for 30 points against certain teams. When you're a blitz-heavy team, that is the risk that you run.
Okay, George, who do you like in this game? You're taking the Bills, right?
I'm definitely taking. Well, the Buffalo was my preseason pick to go to the Super Bowl. I'm taking Buffalo again against Kansas City. I think beating them earlier this year in Kansas City cleared a major mental hurdle for Buffalo and Josh Allen.
I think taking it to the Patriots too. Like I said, they're walking in with a little bit of swagger. They're like, "No, we're going to impose our will." So give us a score, George.
The only thing that bothered me is that we are the champions, and it's like, are they going to have that? Hey, we already won, a letdown. Because beating New England obviously is a huge thing for any team in the AFC East, especially in the playoffs. But they have to come in with that same swagger, that same confidence, that same chip on your shoulder that they had last week from the opening kickoff. I do like Buffalo to beat them, though. I do think it's going to be a high-scoring game.
Give us a score.
I'm going 38-35 Buffalo.
Okay, Rico, I know you're picking Buffalo for Levi.
I'm picking him for Levi, but I really think the game comes down to if one of these teams has the ball in their hand with more than a minute left in the game, that's where it falls. I really believe that this is going to be a game where we're all standing on our feet in the last 2 minutes. So, I'm taking Buffalo. I'm taking Buffalo because I believe that it'll sway that way into their favor. And then you'll have a Diggs or an Allen really pull, make the move. The score, I think, is going to be the over because I already bet the over. I bet Bills in the over. So whatever it is, 30-something to 30-something, the Bills win by 4.
All right. Now, here's the question, guys. Who would you rather have if you're a Bills fan? You want Josh Allen with the ball up against the Chiefs defense, or you want your defense going up against Patrick Mahomes? You want Josh Allen to be the last guy touching the ball, right? You don't want Patrick Mahomes to create another miracle.
No, exactly. That's why I think it comes down to that.
Rico, are you confident in this game, Bills?
No, I think a lot of my confidence in this game falls on because it's my friend's team, and and I want to see the Bills. I want to see revenge from last year where they got spanked in KC. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like I feel like they all I mean, if you don't come back from getting a spanking, and at least put up a good effort, where do you stand in life? Right?
Yeah, no, I agree. All right,
hold on, Rico. Where does Levi sit on this?
Oh, he's Jewish. He's stressed out all the time. He's stressed out all the time. They could play Jacksonville, and he's rubbing his forehead like this. He's like, oh God, I don't know. They flop. They could fly. He's always.
Oh, here we go.
He's
Bill's
also planning on. He's got his money out waiting. If they go to the Super Bowl, he's like, I have to go, and those tickets aren't cheap.
No, they're not.
How about this? They're playing the song about being the champions of the AFC East. Okay, that makes sense now. All right, Rico.
Hold on, real quick. The tickets I got for the Monday night game, I paid $84. That's why I went. I don't do Rico money. For the same area, if the Rams were to host the NFC Championship game, those tickets went from $84 to $640.
Yeah.
Wow.
Ready? You want to hear a great one? I know a guy who has season tickets to the Rams, lower level, so he gets first dibs at the tickets. So the stadium is like, you get first dibs to buy Super Bowl tickets, your season ticket holders. They're selling his ticket price, the guy was $20,000 per ticket if he wanted to buy his season tickets for his 2 seats. He's like $40,000 to go to a football game. I was like, you know what?
No.
It was a $3 lost scratch off that I got to. That is why I'm
Exactly.
going.
I mean, I know that's pocket change for you, Rico, but for people like me, no.
No, George. You understand? I'm going to the Super Bowl because my mother-in-law lost a scratch off and wrote her name on the back and sent it in for second chance, and she won. Jeff, I'm going to the Super Bowl because my mother-in-law, and she's got a broken hip, so I got the ticket to go, and it's lower level. So if I could sell these tickets, I got tickets for $25,000 a piece.
That is just insane.
I'm going to enjoy it on my 70-inch TV.
I bet. I'll get to see which is better, but I feel like at home with a bunch of friends is probably pretty tight.
Okay, Rico.
The commercials are better at home.
That is true. And the halftime show. All right, Rico. I think I bet last week on the Bills. I think I'm going to take the Packers and the Titans today. But one thing that I'm nervous about this game is because you look at the Titans defense and where do they struggle? They're 26th against the pass. Mike Vrabel's defense can stop the run. What do the Bengals like to do? Joe Burrow wants to sling it all over the field. So people have been questioning the Titans all season long. Are they a number one seed? No one's talking about this team. Are they as good as we think they are, or the media thinks they are, or because the media is 50-50 on this? Some of them say they are number one seed. Some of them say they don't deserve it.
Well, I mean, they are number 25 or 27 in the pass defense, but they're also number 7 on pass rush.
Right. Okay.
They do have a pass rush. Their team is not completely sloppy on defense. Like a complete mess. But they're also Cincinnati during the season healthy. They were letting up almost 5 yards per
against
carry,
the run.
4.4
Yeah.
per carry. Now their defensive line is beat up. Their best player, I don't know, Larry Ogunjobi. I don't know how to. I'm saying
Ogunjobi.
Ogunjobi.
Yeah.
So he's not. I don't think he's playing. Who's their best defensive player? So it's going to be one of those beautiful games of just one team running the ball every play compared to another team throwing it every play. Even though it's going to be Mixon, you could look at, like we talked about, Mixon versus Henry. We always had that.
Wait, for the fans who don't know, 2 years ago when I did one of my first ever YouTube shows, Levi and Rico came on the air and they're like, Joe Mixon's a better running back than Derrick Henry. And I'm like, are you guys on crack? What are you talking about? But they were so animated. I'm like, Derrick Henry's the best running back in the NFL. They're like, we take Mixon any day of the week. So this year,
we were wrong.
Well, this year you might have been right. But now we'll get to see with a well-rested Henry running all over the Bengals. So you're leaning towards betting for the Titans, right?
Yeah, I'm betting the Titans today. I think that they're so underrated and so, if they don't come out on fire, just the way people talk about them, that without Henry, there was 6-2. That's a lot. That's really good. Julio Jones just caught his first touchdown pass of the year, which was 2 weeks ago, which I was shocked, which means that now he's a little bit in the fold. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think that people have really, and people are thinking that, like, here's the thing where people are saying, and when I say people, I mean friends and things that I've read. They're like, oh, the Bengals are playing with house money. They have nothing to lose. The problem is the Bengals don't feel that way. The Bengals think that they're an elite team.
Yeah.
They think they're legit. They're not going in this game with, like, we have nothing to lose. We're just going to go for it. They're going to come in with a game plan, and their game plan is going to be rattled when, Derrick Henry and company run the ball 45 times. This is one of those games that I think that a constant running game, a running team could keep up with one of the best passing teams.
Well, and it's funny because
as long as they stick to their game plan, as long as Dick Vermeil sticks to his game plan,
he will. Vrabel will. Vrabel will definitely. Did you say Dick Vermeil?
I don't even know why that came out of my mouth.
Anyway, Mike Vrabel, yes. But, it's funny. You bring up that point. My brother Pete is saying that the Bengals are going to the Super Bowl. And, when you just said, it reminds me of Rocky 1 when Apollo Creed's manager goes, he doesn't think this is a show. He thinks this is a fight. Like, the Bengals think they can win.
Yeah, the Bengals think they definitely – and, again, you're not going to get those turnovers from Joe Burrows. So you're gonna have to do something. But again, I think, Henry's back.
And his backup has been phenomenal.
One defenses, and all of a sudden the best running back is coming at you. They're letting up 4.4 to regular guys. Just some,
Now with Derrick Henry, yeah.
Now cut two, here comes a beast. I was watching some plays, like highlights of him last night, and I'm like, oh my God, how are they even going to tackle this guy? And I do have a worry of a guy coming back. So I do have a worry about a running back coming back after some time off. Like, he might need to get hit a few times, but he's been getting hit in practice. But I also, if he didn't get hurt, he might be more hurt going into this game.
Yeah, he's fresh, right?
Because he's fresh. He hasn't been on a real field in 8 weeks.
And one of the things.
My concern with him it's that broken foot. It's healed. Obviously, he's cleared to play, but the plant and cut off of that broken foot. Because obviously in practice, he's not going full game speed.
Yeah, George, I get what you're saying, but he is not like a Barry Sanders where he's going to juke a guy.
Yeah,
he hits the whole
straight ahead.
Yeah, one of the things what's great about him and A.J. Dillon from the Packers is they hit you first. So if you're a defensive guy, you're not going to get a clean hit on them because they're going to hit you first. So give us a score, Rico. I like the Titans as well.
Yeah, 27-24.
George, who wins and why? Quickly.
I like the Titans. I think their experience, Joe Burrow. Yeah, they're playing like, we're supposed to be here. They're not playing scared. And he doesn't shy away from the big moment. But I just think Derrick Henry being fresh and him and Foreman, it's another 1-2 punch, like with the Rams with Mitchell and Akers, Michelle and Akers. I like Tennessee. I like a low-scoring game. I like it 21-17, Tennessee.
Jeff, what do you got?
If there's a game in your mind that people aren't thinking there's possibility of an upset, this is one that there is. If you look at the Cincinnati Bengals against a run-oriented team in their own division, the Baltimore Ravens, they swept them and beat them decisively. Right? So this is a very real chance of an upset. I think Tennessee does pull it out 23-20, but don't be surprised if Cincinnati comes out and they with a W.
That's a great point because the Bengals play in a division where the Browns want to run it, the Ravens want to run it, the Steelers want to run it, and they won that division. That's a great point, Jeff, to bring that up. All right, finally, we're going to talk about my Green Bay Packers and the San Francisco 49ers. Now, this is bad news for all you 49er fans. First of all, I don't think this 49er team is as physical. But look at all the guys who are now coming back from injuries. You have their offensive linemen. You have Randall Cobb, who didn't put up a lot of numbers, but he's a real security blanket for Aaron Rodgers. Okay, a few years ago, we saw San Francisco beat the hell out of the 49ers and just pound the ball, dominate on both sides of the line of scrimmage. You're not going to see that today. Matt LaFleur has taken this team from a finesse team to a power team on both sides of the ball. They're going to get to Jimmy G. They're going to pressure him. Their defense can cause turnovers in the back end. And I love this dual threat. A.J. Dillon had over 1,000 combined yards catching the ball and receiving the ball. Jones is a playmaker. You cannot stop Devontae Adams. I think that the Packers have been the best team all year long, and that continues today. I think the Packers win 33-25. Jeff, who do you got?
I'm also going to take Green Bay at home. I'm going to say 34-17. The reason being, they're going to do what Dallas could not do. They're going to score points. They're going to put pressure on San Francisco's offense to keep up, which means it puts more pressure on Jimmy G than Dallas did last week when they couldn't score enough points to match. So I think overall, Aaron Rodgers and company get it done. I think Devontae Adams has a big game. I think it's going to be going away. It's going to be tight at first. It's not going to be, like I said, it's not going to be easy. But this could be one of those games that when you see the final score, you're going to think, oh, it wasn't that bad. It was a blowout. No, there was a fight up until they were able to pull away from them. But I think they pull away late.
By the way, I said this to someone the other day. I said, if the Packers lose, this is Aaron Rodgers' way out, right? Yeah. If the Packers lose, Aaron Rodgers is going to get all the criticism. And how does Aaron Rodgers save face? Rico, this could be good for you. If the Packers lose, Aaron Rodgers is like, I'm getting out of Dodge. You couldn't help me win. Because Aaron Rodgers is such an egomaniac. I'm not all on the Packers emotionally like I've been to seeing what – I could separate the artist from the art, but Aaron Rodgers is not a good human being, to say the least. So if the Packers lose, I'm going to be like, okay, Aaron, now you better face the criticism. I don't think they will. I think LaFleur has changed this team drastically. I think that he's the best coach remaining other than Andy Reid in the NFL. And I think they win, Rico. What do you got?
Well, I think they win also. I think Green Bay wins, but I think a lot of it has to do with, it wasn't like San Francisco beat a dazzling Dallas team. They beat a slow, Dallas team. And it's not like they went out there and they won. They did what they had to do, but it wasn't like they beat some. They didn't.
Dallas was not an elite team. They weren't
an elite team. So they're coming from a game where they beat a sluggish, slow,
they started super slow, correct,
team to an elite team who their offense knows what. I'm not so much sure exactly the Green Bay defense of where they stand. I haven't watched them enough to give a solid assessment of them, but the offense of Green Bay is, they're elite. They're elite. Their players
Well, listen,
are elite.
the
They catch
problem-
the ball. You know, they're not dropping him. Aaron Rodgers' ball is going to be there every time. His touchdown to interception ratio is phenomenal.
Greatest of all time. Greatest of all time.
Exactly. It's insane. So, you know, I mean, and I guarantee most of those interceptions were tip balls. So
I think Aaron Rodgers, going into the last couple of weeks, his touchdown to interception ratio for his career was 4.2. The next one was Russell Wilson at 3.1. So that's how dominant Aaron Rodgers has been. And regarding Green Bay's defense, they have struggled against the run at times, but they're 10th against the run. They're like 12th against the pass. Where they struggle sometimes is getting off the field on third down. I think they were like 25th, giving up like 46% on third down conversions. I think it's going to be close, George, but I think the Packers dominate the fourth quarter. How do you got it?
Well, I got Green Bay winning. But, you know, also with San Francisco, the type of game that they play is suited for that cold weather in Green Bay. It's going to be a physical game, but at some point, I expect Jimmy G to make a bonehead play. It's going to be a costly turnover at some point when San Francisco, ill-advised to have it at that particular moment. And besides, you know, Aaron Rodgers, he only loses in the playoffs. He doesn't lose until it's NFC Championship game, so he'll lose next year.
Really, George? Really? Just taking shots? You know what's funny? The coldest game Jimmy G has ever played in his professional was 38. At game time, it's going to be 2 degrees in Green Bay. So
Green Bay summer.
Yeah, 2 degrees.
Monty, the most interesting about Green Bay is you have 3 Hall of Fame quarterbacks, and only one of them has multiple Super Bowls, and that's Bart Starr.
That's funny. That is really funny. And I will say this all day long. I said this years ago. I would take Aaron Rodgers over Brett Favre 7 days a week, twice on Sunday, because it's all risk it's all reward with Aaron. It's not risk. With Brett Favre, it was risk reward every time he touched the ball. That's why he's the most intercepted guy in the history of the NFL.
Yeah, you know, Rodgers will take the sack rather than risk throwing an interception.
Yep. All right, guys. Jeff, give us your who wins the AFC Championship? Who wins the NFC Championship? Who gets to the Super Bowl?
All right, on the AFC side, I think for much to the chagrin of many fans, I see Kansas City making it back. I think overall they're going to put this run together. They're starting to come together already. I think overall they're going to finish this run, end up back in the Super Bowl, end up in LA. On the NFC side, and I wouldn't put my mortgage on any of these guys the way 2021 is going. But when I look at it, I think overall, the way the Rams are playing right now, they're going to be hard to stop them, even on the road. If they come into Tampa Bay and win today, I think they're going to be the way they go. Whether it's you have a quarterback that's won in Green Bay before in Stafford, you have a team that's loaded enough to compete with Green Bay. I think if they win in Tampa Bay today, they go to Green Bay and win.
Okay, I'm taking the Chiefs and the Packers. George, who do you got?
I'm staying with my preseason pick, Buffalo and the Rams.
Can we get off this Buffalo Bill bandwagon? I've been warning you guys for months about this team.
You know, the thing is now with Buffalo, they're starting to get a running game going to help with Josh Allen. And not just Josh Allen. Singletary is starting to pick up some steam, and I think it's the right time for them to start getting that running game going because you need to run the ball in the playoffs.
One of the things I do love about Buffalo, and I'll give them credit, is the coaching staff is really starting to rotate in defensive front guys. So they'll play 7, 8, 9 defensive four guys on the defensive line. They rotate them in. So in the fourth quarter, they're not tired. Okay, Rico, give us your Super Bowl prediction.
Well, as a person going to the Super Bowl.
You're so annoying right now.
As a person going, God willing, as long as everything goes good, the top ticket price would be Green Bay versus Kansas City.
So that's how you're looking at it.
No. I'm not looking at that. I really want to see, now this is coming from my heart, not my brain. I want to see Green Bay versus Buffalo in the Super Bowl. That's who I really want to see in the Super Bowl. I think that'd be a great game. They match up well. I think Green Bay was going to win the Super Bowl. I've been calling it from the beginning of the season. I always talk about Green Bay missing that one piece. I think that one piece won't matter this year. I think this is the most complete team he's had.
Aaron Rodgers.
Yes. So I think Buffalo, Green Bay in the Super Bowl.
Rico should get T-shirts made up as a
I
person
think,
going to the
I
Super
think
Bowl.
for the rest of the season, I think they need to be on the drinking card.
Well, yeah. This has got to be on the drinking card as a person going to the Super Bowl.
And then it'll be as a person who went to the Super Bowl.
So Jeff, I'm surprised because I thought you were going to go with the original Super Bowl, the Green Bay Packers Chiefs.
It's one of the matchups. It's one of the matchups that I talked about when we did our preview last night. I would love to have seen that matchup. It was a classic Super Bowl matchup. But I also said 49ers Bengals as well would be a nice and a third time around. But this time it's flipped with the Bengals having the super quarterback and the Niners just having the guy. But what's going to be real interesting to me though is if Green Bay does go back and does win it, you've already given Aaron Rodgers the out for this year.
Yeah.
So what happens going forward? Does he leave with his?
There's no way he leaves if he wins the Super Bowl. There's no way because he's playing with house money, and he gets to go back to the ownership and say, "Pay me everything."
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
He's still in 1 year. He's still in the 1 year contract.
Yeah,
Rico, you don't think he wants a long-term deal if he wins a Super Bowl? He every egomaniac, whether it's Tom Brady, Drew Brees, they want 3 or 4 years when they're fading. Why do you think Tom Brady shipped Jimmy G out? Tom Brady shipped Jimmy G out.
He'll get the $40 million plus a season contract.
Yeah,
He's going to get a Mike Trout contract.
Yeah, he is. You
mentioned that the possible replay of Super Bowl I, and the craziest thing was that was in LA also.
Yeah, it was at the Coliseum, right?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, George with the LA history. Why didn't you know that, Rico?
No, it's because I'm not as smart as George. So that's obvious.
All right, Jeff, how can we follow you? How can we support you? What's coming down the pike with shows on Nuts and Bolts Sports?
Absolutely. Well, you can find me on the preview shows. I keep finding my way on there for some reason. I guess I know something.
There you go.
At Jeff Barnes 29 on Twitter. At Cover 2 Draft for your draft coverage, at Nuts and Bolts, at MBS Draft Central for the Nuts and Bolts Sports Draft Central Twitter. We are back this week with a Senior Bowl preview, and then we are live Senior Bowl week. So I'm going to start off Senior Bowl week in Mobile. I'm going to tag off the Bill midweek, and Bill's going to finish out the coverage for the rest of the week. And then we are back every Wednesday at 9:00 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central.
All right. Thanks so much, Jeff. We'll see you down the road. What's that? He's going to the senior. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, wow. I've been listening to Jim Nagy talk about the Super Bowl, the Senior Bowl the last couple of days.
Yeah, it's time to go back. I haven't been there since I relocated to Florida. So this year I'm not flying, I'm driving. So that's gonna be great. I get to bring all my equipment.
There's one thing Nagy said. I heard him talking about it yesterday. And I really respect him for this. They say they do allow juniors to play in the Senior Bowl, the ones that are leaving. He goes, but they had to earn their degree.
Yes.
And
yeah, in the past, they didn't
like maybe 11 or 12 juniors are going to be playing in the Senior Bowl.
Yeah, in the past, it was strictly seniors, and it was the juniors always played in the Shrine or NFLPA. They played elsewhere, but Jim Nagy's brought it to modern times, so give him credit for that.
All right, Jeff, we'll see you down the road. Always appreciate the time. All right, George, give us about 30 seconds here. SoFi Stadium, rocking crowd. Is that the best place to watch a game?
Well, of the NFL stadiums I've been to, yeah, and that's coming from being a Ram fan. I'm not talking with my heart on that one. The sound, the way it resonates in that stadium, I wasn't expecting it to be that loud. It does seem, it's a big stadium. They have open ends on both sides, but the sound stays in there, and you just felt it, man. You could feel the stadium wanting to move. It's a tremendous place to watch a game. Rico, you've been there. It's going to be awesome for the Super Bowl. I mean, you get those crowds, the fan base for both, wherever teams are going to be there. It's going to be a tremendous experience for anyone going for the first time.
All right, George, we will. If the Rams win, we will have you back on next week if you're free. So we'll see you next week. And I think the Rams do win. So it looks like it's going to be Packers-Rams, little civil war between us. And George, if you want to bet that game, I think I've beaten you 4 or 5 times worth betting.
You beat me every time we bet, so I have to think about it.
All right. Maybe have Rico counsel you.
He's a shark.
All right, George. Thanks so much. Great job by George Lopez. Rico, do you want to do a rant, or you don't? You're not up for it emotionally?
Well, if I keep doing a rant right now, I'm so focused on me going to the Super Bowl.
Well, that's really.
Rant will be.
So who's going? You and Melissa?
Supposedly me, Melissa, and when I say supposedly, they haven't sent us our Super Bowl package yet. We're supposed to get a package with 3 parties to the 3 nights prior to the Super Bowl. One of them is called the Yellow Jacket Party. The other 2, I'm not sure what they are, but we're pretty much in LA, so we're going to be amongst rubbing elbows with the elite of football and movie stars and everything else like that. And I still think,
so is this an opportunity?
I'm the most famous person in there. That'll be my.
Is this an opportunity for you to finally, after 2 years, promote the Full Monty Sports Show and get some actors or athletes on the show based on you networking, not just going to the party for the food?
Well, that Melissa actually said the not for the show, but the opposite of don't go up and talk to every person that you recognize. She's like, everybody recognizes them. Don't act like you know them. And I'm like, I know them. I know things about them that they've probably forgotten.
Yeah, Rico, are you going to the Super Bowl, by the way?
It's funny you say that. It's funny, yes, Andrea. I'm actually going to the Super Bowl.
Oh, man.
Listen,
I should be happy for you, right?
It was a thing. I've been to a Stanley Cup. I've been to a World Series. I've been to an NBA Finals. I just assumed I'd never go to a Super Bowl. So, and again, the tickets aren't here. There might be there is a scenario where I don't go, especially if somebody offers me $30,000 for a ticket. I ain't going to no Super Bowl. For 30
Rico, I will say this: if you get offered anything more than 15,000 per ticket, you got to take it.
The 15,000, we're going to be low. We're lower level. Lower levels are going for 20, 30. You can't buy them. Now, here's the thing: I went online. There's only like 30 probably available seats that you can buy in the whole stadium.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're looking at making $60,000 on the Super Bowl.
What's that?
You can make $60,000 on those tickets.
Scenario if those tickets are able to be transferable, which they might not be. If they are, because we're going in as lottery winners, right. So they might not be transferable. But if they are, and somebody offers me the right number, that bucket list will be a trip to Hawaii. $60,000. I go to Hawaii, stay in one of the nicest hotels, be treated, get a manicure and pedicure.
But wait, you got to split that money with your in-laws, don't you?
Oh, yeah, I got to do that, but whatever. I'm not worried. They're cool. We'll all go to Hawaii. We're all going to go to Hawaii together.
All right, Rico, we will see you next week. Are you as confident in the Packers as I am today?
Yeah, I'm very confident in the Packers. I think, again, San Francisco played a really unprepared, unmotivated Dallas team, and they didn't blow them out as much as, looking back on that game. Yeah.
14 penalties the Cowboys had, and it still came down to the wire. All right, Rico, so what you need to do is you need to let me know about a teaser, what the spread would be if I take the Titans and the Packers money line $100.
All right, well, I'll talk to you in a few minutes.
All right, Rico, thanks so much. Appreciate the time. Thanks for getting up early. All right, what a fun show. If you're not wow, I didn't even know a travel package starts at $8,000, just a travel package. That's not even the tickets for the Super Bowl. What a fun show. Listen, this is the last weekend where you really can enjoy football because it's the last time you're going to have games Saturday and Sunday. The last time you're going to have games Saturday and Sunday. We're doing a big cooking spread here. My sister Diane all of a sudden is a San Francisco 49er fan because she thinks Jimmy G is a beautiful man. So she's rooting for the 49ers. My mom's rooting for the 49ers, which is kind of annoying. My brother's rooting for the 49ers, which is kind of annoying. It's just me and my dad solo taking the Packers. I want to thank Jeff Barnes. I want to thank Rico. I want to thank all of you guys for joining us. Remember to subscribe to the Nuts and Bolts YouTube channel. Give this particular show a thumbs up. And we will see you Monday night breaking down what happened this weekend. Thanks for watching. In the immortal words of Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'll be back.